Okay. Hi guys.
Okay.
So, hi guys. This is Converti team, and we're gonna talk to you about project management and leadership. Our team is formed by Olivia Rusby, Monica Tolosa, Jhon Orrego, Jhon McDermott, and Anna Maya. So, according to the Project Management Institute, project management can be defined as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. It is temporary because it has a defined beginning and end in time, which make it have a very specific scope and resources. It is unique because it is not a routinary job, but a set of operations done to accomplish a singular goal. All these operations need to be managed in a way that the specific goal can be delivered on time and on budget. The project management is also usually draws in 10 different areas, which are seen on the screen right now. Now, to continue, the Project Management Institute also separates the phases of project management in 5 different phases. Those are initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and closure. I am going to start by talking to you about the 2 first phases. The project concept and initiation is where we define the project. This starts with a case, and the idea is to research whether the project is feasible and if it should be undertaken. It also states what the project is intended to achieve, how that will be achieved, and the scope of the work. This is important for controlling subsequent change requests, and this phase, those who are involved in the project will be assigned their responsibilities. The second one is project definition and planning, which focuses on developing a roadmap that everyone will follow. This usually begins with setting goals. Two of the more popular methods for setting goals are SMART goals and clear goals. The SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely goals. Clear stands for collaborative, limited, emotional, appreciable, and refinable. In this space, roles and responsibilities are clearly defined so everyone involved knows what they are accountable for.
Continuing with the brief description of the 5 project management phases developed by the Project Management Institute, the next 3 are execution, monitoring, and closure. Before describing them, it's interesting to mention that even this video was managed as a project through these 5 phases. And it's worth mentioning that probably some people put importance levels differently to these phases according to their focus, objectives, the complexity of each task, and or the experience of the team members. So for example, most of the project managers understand that it is crucial to plan well, while some others may focus on execution and monitoring. Execution is the phase in which basically the work is done. This is often considered the main or the most important part of the project life cycle since a lot is happening during this time, such as development of a cohesive team, resources and task assignment, procuring materials, tracking activities and schedules, having status meetings, and plan adjustments. Monitoring is all about measuring the project progression and performance, ensuring that the actual results are aligned to the plan. Though being slightly different to execution, these 2 phases frequently occur simultaneously. From 2 to 5 key performance indicators are commonly used to track the progress of the project. Mostly used KPIs include those to measure objectives, quality, cost, effort, and time. Permanent adjustments in schedules and resources are not only common, but also essential to keep the project on track during this monitoring phase. Finally, closure is when deliverables are submitted, the team members are recognized for their effort, areas of opportunity, also called lessons learned, are identified, final report is presented, and documents are stored.
So this takes us to leadership. What is leadership anyway? Such a simple question, and yet many disagree and get it wrong. One of my favorite definitions is by Cruz, 2013, where he states that leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal. This definition includes the 3 key elements: social influence, the requirement of other followers, and the goal of intended outcome. There is no mention and no need to mention personal traits or titles. Ross also suggests that leadership is an influential relationship among leaders and their collaborators who intend real change that reflect their mutual purposes. Similar, but includes mutual purposes. I believe it is important to find the balance in the needs of various individuals and organizations. So what does a good leader have to do? They have to be realistic and see reality as it is now. Effective leaders don't avoid the hard truths. They take responsibility for their failures and exercise resilience against them. They have to have vision and see the potential in the future. Focus attention on what matters most and what has to be accomplished. A useful vision can be rooted in the past or present, but address the future. It represents what the project or organization is and what it stands for. They have to act decisively and make strategic decisions quickly to make it the way they see it. Having a big picture view of a project or organization will help balance acting on emerging opportunities with long-term goals. And finally, they have to have influence. They have to influence others through trust. Focus on understanding stakeholder motivations and encourage them to share their opinions. You can then use that knowledge to make change and show that team members' voices matter.
Thank you, Jhon. So piggybacking on the definition of leadership and the characteristics that Jhon just showed us, we're now going to go into the leaders that we particularly admire and why. What are the traits? So when we look at leadership globally, we can find successes and failures. The real question is, what is an example of a successful leader? What did they do to gain this standing to be admired? Let's begin with a leader who is admired and some of the characteristics that person may have. This is important to know in general as an individual progresses in life. Whether you're looking for your next workplace or aspire to join the senior management team someday, you should be aware of the different types of skills that most people think inspire confidence and loyalty. Even if you have zero desire to manage others, possessing these sought-after traits will make you a more valuable coworker and employee. In 2019, an article by Business Insider wrote about leadership and some traits that rated of highest importance in the eyes of employees. Accessibility, strategic planning, and decisiveness, as Jhon mentioned, were some of the three most relevant ones. One leader who is admired and embodies many of these traits is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern. Prime Minister Ardern broke grounds with her response to the coronavirus 2020 pandemic, acting quickly, swiftly, and decisively. The country, thanks to her response, has all but eradicated the virus. And thanks to her strategic planning, are able to live in a surreal reality for most of the world, a place without face masks or restrictions. New Zealand is in fact one of the few places globally that can do so. Another example is during the shooting in a religious temple in New Zealand. Prime Minister Ardern acted immediately, banning assault rifles in the country. Additionally, she made herself accessible to her constituents, allowing them to hug her, dressing in traditional attire, and connecting with the people on a level above politics. This humanity, along with her strategy, played wonderfully, and she was recently reelected in a landslide election because of the great admiration New Zealanders have for her. She is human and displays that connection and humanity in her speech, policies, and day-to-day life. Ardern brought her newborn to Parliament, again showing that she is just a woman, really bonding with her country.
Okay, so thank you, Monica. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences and the relationship between project management and leadership. So if you think of famous leaders, you might not really think of them as managers, but it is hard to assess one trait without the other. And when it comes down to the details, all leaders will most likely have managerial skills as well. Whilst managers create goals, leaders create a vision. Managers' tasks are to accomplish the goals and objectives in the most effective and efficient manner possible, whereas leaders create a picture of possibility to inspire and engage their team or people in their vision. Managers put in the necessary steps of turning that vision into reality, but leaders think of the bigger picture beyond the individual. The best functioning teams work together. And while some managers can understand each process and the role of the individual, it is the team together that makes it work, and it works best with a leader. Managers focus on setting, measuring, and achieving goals. They control situations to reach or exceed their objectives, and management is said to be easily defined, whereas leadership is a little more complex. So looking at the next slide, what really resonated with me from the reading by Kloppenberg et al. 2007 was to stop thinking of leadership as the property or quality of just one person, but think of it in its collective form. That leadership occurs through a group of people who think and act together. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus." And I think arguably for some of the world's biggest problems today, like coronavirus or climate change, we need strong leaders to mold consensus for each person to come together to tackle them. This, of course, is not just for the big world problems, but also to be leaders at work or for projects. Within a project, the team needs to want to work together and to be inspired to work in the same direction. A manager needs to know how to get the best out of people to complete a project efficiently, but a leader will ensure the team is happy and satisfied, not just for the end result. The most skilled people will be able to combine the best of management principles and leadership principles to distinguish which approach is needed to achieve the goals of a project. So thank you for listening to our presentation.